Please listen carefully. Clubmen 1645, and today we're back in Wiltshire and we're at the garrison at Faulston, which is behind me on the right hand side. It's Faulston Manor, and what you can see there is the Dovecote Tower.
Yes.
Just about to see the Dovecote Tower, which is a Plantagenet tower. There was two towers originally, and there was a wall around that manor. You can't really see the manor, but I've taken a picture of it, but it's private property now, so I don't want to take too many pictures looking into the building. But we've come up the top of the hill here in a poppy field, and there's a glorious poppy field all behind me. So why have we come here, you ask? Well, we came here today because in June the 13th, while they were waiting for a warrant of agreement between His Majesty and Parliament, the clubmen of Wiltshire in Salisbury, in Sarum, got together and issued their own warrants and brought the garrisons of Faulston, which is parliamentarian, and Longford, Langford, near Salisbury, which is royalist, and they issued their own governors to pick up, well, not governors, what would you call them, commissioners, to go around the county collecting money as tithes as such to pay to these two garrisons. And they issued their own warrants, and their own warrants were issued where these two garrisons would leave them alone while they were going about their business. But what's interesting about this place was on June, did I say July or June?
No, you said June.
June the 13th, they came upon agreement here. While waiting for the warrants of peace, which was sent off to the King and Parliament because the Uxbridge peace talks had collapsed. But obviously, meanwhile, up at Naseby, the Battle of Naseby was going on the 14th of June. So while that was going on, down here, they were doing something completely different. And it worked because Fairfax came into this county and wrote about it back to Parliament, and he wrote the letter back in July. There was a deposition by Christopher Dell, which I've mentioned before, at Groveley Castle, because that was a place of rendezvous. But Fairfax wrote about the meeting in this area to collect the taxes as such for the subsistence, they call it, for sustaining these garrisons, you know, and they stopped them fighting basically, and they sort of gave them money and fed them, and then they went into Salisbury on occasion, and they met, and the royalists met with the parliamentarians, and the fighting ceased for a small while in this county. But the letter from Fairfax makes mention of this, and it makes it says where several petitions for peace are intended to be agreed upon by the inhabitants of the county of Wiltshire, and to be presented to one to His Majesty and the other to the Houses of Parliament, it was fit that the gentlemen and other inhabitants of Sarum, who already agreed and entered into association concerning the same, that during such time as the said petition shall remain unanswered, that was their petition to Parliament and King, for peace to come about, there should be a treaty between the said gentlemen inhabitants of the said division and the commanders of the several garrisons of Langford and Faulston, which is down there, Faulston Manor. And it talks about they're issuing their own warrants, and none of this was sort of legal as such. They were doing it off their own back. But I've been out here before, and we've talked about this garrison before, and the link with Groveley Castle. But I wanted to mention it, come out here again today just to mention that petition, because there are several characters associated with devices as well. Because at the time, Sir George Vaughan was the owner of that Faulston Manor, and he was injured at the Battle of Lansdowne, I think, in 1643. But Sir Edward Bainton, who was a tenant of this garrison here, not before this garrison, this Faulston Manor as such, built Bromham House near Devizes. And we've mentioned Bromham House near Devizes because it's mentioned in a very explicit descriptive letter from a gentleman writing to his cousin about the plunder that was happening in the Devizes area. And we have a copy of that letter here. Here it is. All this paperwork. Got to keep writing it.
And it's windy.
Yeah. Now I'll read a little bit of this letter because it's quite descriptive, but it sort of sums up the plunder and the oppression of just the ordinary people in these areas, and why they were issuing their own warrants to stop such behaviour. And it states, "My loving cousin, my best respects remembered. Having gotten fit an opportunity in these miserable and distracted times by my son to write to you, I thought fit to give you a touch of the miserable, sad condition of our poor county of Wiltshire. Being almost all over distressed in continual vexation of plundering by soldiers of the King's forces. I can hardly enough express our sad condition. We live on Blackmore Forest, about Devizes, in which the castle is made a garrison." And it carries on, "and add to our further misery to our county, the said Colonel Lloyd with a party of horse and foot came from Devizes some 10 days since to Bromham." Now Bromham is the house where I've just mentioned Edward Bainton built near there, and it was completely set fire to, and all that was left was the entrance gate, and I think it was rebuilt again, and the entrance gate was the only thing that survived when they moved it, you know. So but I just wanted to mention that because there was a link between here, and it's all based in Wiltshire, but obviously it was going on in Dorset at the same time. But all these things flared up in June and July, and meanwhile the Battle of Naseby was going on, and it was all sort of getting settled up north. But down here things were a bit different, and that started the Western campaign later on, where Fairfax came into the west to sweep up the last resistance of the Royalists as such. But yeah, this garrison was here to 1648, I think. Okay, just a little footnote to finish on. The warrants of commission, which were the guys collecting the taxes or the money to sustain these two garrisons, it's one of our friends and gentlemen, Thomas Hawes, from Salisbury. They call him Thomas Hollis, Thomas Hawlis, I think. Some people pronounce it differently, Hawes, but I call him Thomas Hawes. And he was obviously the brother of George Hawes from Monkton up Wimborne. They were all clubmen, and Thomas Bennett was involved with that as well. Or was it George Bennett? Anyway, it was one of the Bennetts, because everybody's called George and Thomas. But he was involved with it as well. But they were the guys where the money was being sent to, who were collecting the money, and then they would issue it to these two garrisons at Faulston Manor and at Longford House.
The afternoon into my glass.
We've walked from the poppy field near Faulston Manor, and we've done a walk right through the fields, the wheat field, back round here. It's a public right of way, a bridle way as such, so I'd recommend the walk. loads of poppies out at the moment up here, so it's quite a sea of red, which seems appropriate for talking about the Civil War in some ways.
It does.
But down here in the valley, right in front of me, that is Faulston Manor, which we mentioned down there, which was the parliamentarian garrison in 1645, where the clubmen were paying their taxes, tithes to, for the substance or sustaining that garrison with goods, food, and for a free warrant to move around the county without being burdened by parliamentarian or royalist soldiers. They were paying these people off basically to leave them alone. And I just want to say, when we come out here, we appreciate these walks, don't we?
Yes.
We always come out here just to do a little bit of filming, and we end up doing these gigantic walks
Yes.
around the areas, because there's just loads of public rights of way around here. So it's just worth coming out just to enjoy the walks. You don't have to necessarily come out here and talk about the clubmen, but and just enjoy the scenery. It's quite something, isn't it?
I got 100 proofs, assembled a crack ash.
Put that one. I'm going to get
Nice cup of instant coffee.
Let's have a look at the sugar.
Well, a few lessons learned today is when you go on these long walks, these 3.5 hour walks, be prepared. Tea, coffee, water, anything, but take liquid refreshment with you.
Exactly.
That's what we've learned today.
We walked a bit further than we thought we were
Yeah.
going to, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, biscuits, refreshment, but it's a great walk. As you get to the top and look down on this valley bit, there's no clutter anywhere. It's just no telegraph poles, nothing. You don't hear any airplanes, cars, anything. It's just I think it's the only site we've been to so far where there's no sound.
Yeah, that's right. You
Yeah,
don't hear
yeah.
any vehicles. You hear no vehicles. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Plenty of swifts, plenty of swallows,
Yes.
buzzards, as you see, lots of poppies. But yeah, a good day was had.
And we also thought how important it was that we keep walking these ancient walkways and footpaths, because if they don't get used, they just get overgrown, don't they? And then they just disappear. Yeah,
Yeah.
if they're not maintained, if people don't use them, they're not maintained, they just disappear. And I think it's really important that we keep walking, don't we, on those ancient footpaths.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although that one, we did get lost.
We did.
And we did have a run-in with the farmer, and he pointed us in the right direction.
Yes,
But
he was very helpful.
we couldn't understand why there was red ribbons everywhere. And the point is to follow those red ribbons, because that is the public right of way.
Yeah, but no one told us that.
No. You just walking along, looking at red ribbons thinking, why are they there?
That's right.
But yeah, Faulston Manor House, well worth a trip out here. As I said up there, not necessarily just to talk about the clubmen.
Exactly.
Good. Bottoms up.
Bottoms up. Oh, have one of those. That will
Let's have a biscuit. You have one of these.
Yeah, I have. I'm gonna have a couple actually.
Maple and syrup biscuits.
Nice that walk.